Jetblue and Spirit, like chalk and cheese. They couldn't be any more different if they tried. Yet Jetblue is aggressively pursuing Spirit and simply won't take no for an answer. So why is this? Why is one of America's most innovative carriers hell-bent on acquiring an ultra-low-cost carrier that charges for everything? Let's find out. Now, for more aviation content like this, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Take a look at this.
What's up, Internet? Welcome to my suite. First things first, this bed. Oh, I mean this lie-flat seat. Don't let the name fool you. It's a true bed in the sky.
What would you do if you had the award-winning Jetblue Mint Studio? What would you do if you had arguably the best domestic product with free Wi-Fi, free satellite TV, and the most legroom of any US carrier in economy class? You've got the product, but you need to market it to the right place. In the aviation industry, location is everything. You would think with a product like that JetBlue is taking full advantage of the lucrative east-west routes, right? Well, no. JetBlue is severely lacking in slots in the big hubs of California, LA, and San Francisco. You see, an airline just can't fly wherever it wants. It needs to secure a landing slot at that particular airport to secure the route. Getting a slot at LAX or SFO is highly lucrative, and expanding your presence into these airports is difficult, to say the least. It can take years and years to negotiate new slots or wait for other airlines to leave these busy airports. JetBlue does have some slots in SFO, but they're mainly in the international terminal. They have to pay a premium for the additional gate space that they aren't even using for their domestic flights. So what does all of this have to do with Spirit? Well, JetBlue couldn't care less about what color the planes are and what the standard of service is. What Spirit lacks, they more than make up for in these precious landing slots in the West Coast. With slots in LA, Las Vegas, and Oakland, JetBlue can use the slots that Spirit already has to finally compete on those premium heavy coast-to-coast routes. They can finally get that cash cow they've desperately craved. Okay, so we've seen what kind of asset JetBlue is looking for. What else? What else could Spirit have that JetBlue wants? I mean, to state the obvious, if JetBlue wants to grow, it needs more planes. Now, there are hundreds of airlines around the world, but only two major aircraft manufacturers in Boeing and Airbus. Acquiring a large amount of planes isn't easy. You place an order and you have to wait in line. It can take years to get the planes you want, and depending how big your order is, it could take another few years to complete that order. So what does this have to do with Spirit? Simple. What's the difference between this and this? There's more than meets the eye. Behind all that paint and livery, both JetBlue and Spirit operate a largely narrow-body fleet. But crucially, they are both narrow-body Airbus fleets. I think you can see where I'm going with this. While JetBlue will have to spend a lot of time repainting that hideous yellow exterior and replacing that sardine interior if they were to merge with Spirit, it will still be worth it to capture an additional 170 or so planes that would have taken about 8 years to acquire organically. JetBlue wants to take a time machine to the future and take on United, Delta, and American right now. Take a look at this.
Says it'll furlough nearly 2,000 pilots in October as customer demand continues to lag.
Thousands of airline workers have already been laid off. Many more could soon be furloughed without a new round of relief money from Washington.
The study highlights a different problem for the aviation industry, a pilot shortage. Consulting firm Oliver Wyman predicting there could be a shortfall of more than 30,000 commercial pilots by 2025.
It's no secret that thousands of pilots were laid off during the pandemic. But crucially, many had retired. The industry is back, but not all the pilots are. This mismatch is creating a pilot shortage that airlines can ill afford right now. Airlines all over the world are struggling to maintain their pre-COVID schedules, let alone grow. The journey to become a pilot is a long and arduous one. Not only is it expensive, but there are significant amounts of flying hours required to become certified, and this process can take years. Early career pilot salaries aren't lucrative at all, and so many are discouraged to pursue a career as a pilot due to the sheer amount of time required to get to a level where one can make a decent living. Therefore, it's not going to be enough to replace these retired pilots with young up-and-comers. It's just not that simple. So JetBlue thought, look over there at Spirit. Again, who cares what their planes look like? If we can get Spirit, that's hundreds of certified A320 pilots that we have access to at the drop of a hat. In a time where there's a labor shortage of such a crucial skill, the best way, perhaps the only way, to get the people you need is to acquire a competitor. JetBlue will get the pilots it needs for its long-term future. Now, we've all heard about the food chain. The tiny fish gets eaten by the small fish gets eaten by the big fish, and the big fish gets eaten by the shark. You get the idea. The airline industry isn't much different. How? Well, remember in 2016? Virgin America was that little fish, and Alaska and JetBlue were the bigger fish trying to eat them up. That was a battle that JetBlue eventually lost, and Alaska are now flying high, having benefited from all of Virgin's assets. There have been other stories like this in the past, including when Continental and United merged in 2010. There are only so many players that can exist in the American aviation market, and mergers and acquisitions are just part of the food chain. So while it's clear that JetBlue wants all of Spirit's assets, they equally don't want to be eaten up in the future by a bigger player. They will eat to ensure that they don't get eaten. What do you think of the proposed merger? Is JetBlue paying too much? Will the regulators allow it? Leave a like and comment below. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, keep flying high.